Hello, my name is Karline Moeller, and I'm the founder of Art Frankly. Welcome to Frank Fridays. I'd like to introduce you to Ellie, my co-host, who is the founder of Hayworth, an art consultancy committed to promoting intrepid ideas at the intersection of art and design. And today we are chatting with Sara Gates, an artist, printmaker, and the founder of Kingsland Printing. Kingsland Printing is an artistic-minded, high-end, and collaborative screen printing studio. We are thrilled to have Sara here today. So Ellie, over to you to get this interview started.
Thank you, Karlina. Hi, Sara. It's really exciting to have you today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, maybe we can just start with the very basics. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got your start in the arts and what brought you to screen printing.
Yeah, for sure. I have been making art since I was a child. Always knew I would go to art school. And wound up at Pratt for graduate school. And when I was there, I had a chance to work at Brand X, which is a high-end screen printing studio. And I was a painting major, but I really just fell in love with screen printing, and I loved working at the studio. And I feel like a lot of the narrative that was painted for our life after grad school for painters was this scenario where you work a retail job or you are a bartender and then you paint in your free time and like that's your life. And at that point I was like, that sounds awful and not something I want to do forever. And screen printing seemed like a way where I could have a studio, I could have a creative practice, I could be collaborative, I could work with people, and I could do it right away. And it just made sense. So I actually started my business informally out of my studio at Pratt, like while I was working on my thesis, like half doing screen printing for people and half making paintings and working on my thesis. But so it was pretty quick for me after grad school. And then it was kind of, slow. I worked part-time jobs and kind of did it bit by bit, saved up a little money, bought another piece of equipment, did some more jobs, bought another piece. So it grew very gradually at first, but I really just jumped into this idea of having a print shop while I was still in school.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I also think we're all warming up to the idea of artist as entrepreneur, but it was never something that early on I think was necessarily part of the narrative. So I love not only the idea that you had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit, but that Kingsland was founded with this kind of it almost feels like it was part of your early artistic DNA. So that's really quite exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us there a little bit about, just maybe describe Kingsland to us? What at some point, you materialized into a formal kind of, entrepreneur CEO of Kingsland. You have your formal entity. You guys have a really great reputation in the New York screen printing world. Just tell us a little bit about Kingsland as its own business.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 15 years now, which is crazy to think about that it's been. But we have kind of done it all. There's been times where I was really focused on textile printing and we were printing yardage. There was times I was focused on glass printing and printing cylindrical objects, and then printing t-shirts and tote bags and posters. And I'm always looking for a new thing to do and a new challenge. And a lot of them I'll come up with, but a lot of them will be a new client reaching out and saying, hey, can you do this? And I'll go, yeah, I think I can. Let me figure it out, and kind of learning that way, learning new techniques, learning new inks, new processes. I searched for old equipment constantly, obsessively for years, trying to get old machines that they don't make anymore. Yeah. So we've kind of done a lot, and through all that, I've sort of settled recently on doing art editions, which I'm really excited about, publishing our own art editions, which is given our creative control to pick who we work with and be a little bit more collaborative. and take all those years of experience and kind of get to use it a little bit more and impart what I know about the process, and then see what the artist has in their usual practice and how we can kind of put those together and make something really unique. We still do all the other stuff, all the other printing, but this is kind of my new focus as of the last year or so.
I love that. And how big is your team? Does it ebb and flow depending on the size of the projects? I'm just curious to understand a little bit more about the company.
Well, we had a bigger team pre-COVID, and then obviously,
Sure.
and then I had to get back a lot, which was really hard. I had to make a lot of really hard decisions through COVID that I never thought I would have to make, that just were totally new and really threw me for a loop. So we've scaled back. We're smaller now, which has been working well for us now, but I can see us growing again in the future. I still always think about having another location or a more community minded print shop, or I don't know. I'm always dreaming of doing something upstate, or, so we'll see. But yeah, who knows? I'm always open to more ideas or more.
I love that. I love that. Well, one of the things, just in my experience working peripherally with both the screen printing world or the print world at large, but also arts fabrication, is that it tends to be a pretty male dominated industry. And so I'm just curious if you can speak a little bit about just being a woman in this industry, what kind of community you've been able to foster, and just how you're seeing the market evolve.
Yeah. The print community has always been great to me, I think. I think there's a really great group of printmakers in Brooklyn that have always been really supportive of each other and been able to reach out to each other when we need help, or somebody the other day needed a gallon of ink and I was like, great, take it, I got it. It's been really good. And I think when I was newer, I think a lot of people kind of helped me out. And I feel like now I've been able to kind of help some newer shops out. There's been a few new women-owned shops that have opened up, which has been great. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see and have that community. And yeah, it's been male dominated. The whole art world's been male dominated. Everything's been male dominated, but I haven't had too much of a negative experience with it personally. But I am excited to see more women in print always.
I love that. I love that. I'm also curious a little bit, you mentioned that, there's never been kind of a challenge that's too large. You've done some collaborative work with other fabrication facilities, like Powerhouse is one of the ones that comes to mind. Just can you tell us a little bit about like different ways that you've innovated with different kind of materials or techniques? Is there maybe one project that comes to mind when you think about these things?
Oh, there's been a lot. I love Powerhouse. Working with them has been great. We taught a class together pre-COVID, like right before COVID.
I remember this.
We like snuck it in. It was for screen printing on clay, which has kind of been a pet project of mine for a while. And the class was really experimental. We really tried to I wanted to just show different methods, different ways of doing it, and kind of show how these two mediums could meet. And since then, I've been really refining kind of a method that I like, that's giving me good results. And I'm really excited to kind of share that with people. And I'm hoping to do another class in the new year, if everything works out COVID-wise.
I'll make a mental note of that, Sarah.
We also recently have been working with an artist using a scratch off ink, which is like the same way like lottery tickets are printed. So he's been bringing me photographs, these fine art photographs, and we've been screen printing the scratch off ink on them, and then they're sold and people can scratch them off, and they're hiding private parts.
I love that.
And I've had that ink for a really long time and wanting to use it, and finally had this project. And now I'm like, what else can I make with this? Because it's really cool. So yeah, those are the two that kind of stick out now, but there's always something fun I'm trying to come up with, or trying to print on something you can't print on, or, print with material that's not ink, or, who knows.
I think that's really fantastic. We'll definitely have to stay tuned for some of your future projects. They all sound really, really innovative and very cool. So I'm also just curious a little bit, like, are there any kind of challenges associated with the printmaking community, or is there something that you hope for the future of printmaking, just as we move into what I hope will be a less challenging 2022?
Yeah. I really want to see more experimental printmaking.
Yeah.
I have been watching kind of obsessively this lecture series by Jennifer Roberts that was put out by National Gallery, called Contact the Art and Pull of the Print. If anybody wants to watch this and discuss it with me, please get in touch.
I made a note of it while you said it. So
I keep sending it to people going, watch this so we can talk about it. She really talks about printmaking in a really interesting way and a really experimental way, and looks back at a lot of Rauschenberg's experimental prints and that. And I think I don't see so much of that anymore.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of it now in the discussion has become technical, and how to do this, and how many colors it is, and how perfect the registration is, and all this. And it's, I get the importance of that, but I really would like to see it talked about in a bigger art making way, and how it can be used as a tool, and like drawing or painting or something like that, and not focus on technical so much. So I'm always trying to think what I can do to push that, but I'd love to hear from other people and see what experimental ideas they have, and find a way to make weird print things, and challenge what a print is, what a print can be, what it means to make a print.
Yeah, I love that. Well, a few people come to mind in the printmaking community that might be some fun thought partners for you. So we may have to reconnect off the clock.
Yeah, let's talk.
But I love that. And yeah, I think, Sara, as I mentioned kind of at the beginning of this conversation, we love to offer some professional practice and just help, especially Art Frankly's network of aspirational kind of arts professionals, understand a little bit more about what it means to be a successful printmaker. So I'm curious to know, just from like a business standpoint, what is one thing that you do every day to sustain or push forward your business?
Ooh, lots of emailing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
If anybody had told me how much emailing I would be doing as an adult or as a business, I don't know. A lot of that, I think what I try to do is get that emailing, that logistical stuff out of the way first, because it's the fun part. And then I think every day, trying to do some research, look at some art, look at some prints, talk to somebody I want to work with, reach out, do something like that to kind of counterbalance it. Because if I don't, it's so easy to get stuck in that rut where I'm just this, machine administration like rut. So I think it's really important to kind of keep pushing yourself and keep challenging yourself, and making time to connect and look at art and see other prints, and just keep it moving forward, because otherwise easy to get stuck in this just work,
the administrative capacity.
Yeah. And it's hard because it could go on forever. So I don't remember what the question was, but don't get stuck in that rut.
No, I think that's great. Well, we were suggesting what is one thing that you do daily to sustain your business, but it sounds to me like you find time to do something to sustain your creativity as much as your business. So I think that's a great takeaway.
I guess I'm realizing how important my creativity is in keeping my business fresh and interesting. And so
I love that. Do you have like one thing that comes to mind as like your greatest career milestone?
Ooh,
I know I'm giving you like the big questions.
no, it's good. I like having to think about it. Is I think being around for 15 years something.
Yeah.
I just existing and succeeding, making it happen. We also, for the past few years, have been working a lot with Amy Silman, which has been amazing. And she is somebody who uses printing in a very painterly way and print mark making, as like a form of drawing, and is not concerned with the technical anything. And anytime I'll be like, oh, this is technically bad printmaking, let's do it. And I'm like, yes, I need more of this. So she's great. She's been great to work with. So that's been amazing. Yeah.
I love that. Sara, are there any projects, or is there anything that we should stay tuned for in 2022 that you think, the Art Frankly audience might be curious to learn more about?
Yeah, well, we have been really focusing on printing art editions lately, publishing and printing editions under Kingsland Editions. And we released a few last year, which I'm really excited about. We have a lot more coming out in 2022.
Yeah.
We're currently working on some monoprints with a great painter, Evan Mazellan. I used to share a studio space with him out in Rockaway. And he's working on a series of paintings about surfers, which are really interesting. We're also working on something new with Elise Ferguson. We had 2 prints we released with her last year, but we're working on something weird and sculptural, and that'll be a nice pairing to the editions we did with her. So I'm excited about that. More classes, more teaching. Hopefully I'll get that going. I keep backing out every time I try to schedule a class, and I'm like, is this okay? Is COVID over? I don't know. So hopefully we'll get that off the ground. But yeah, lots of stuff.
I love that. Well, that all sounds really exciting. And we are certainly excited to see what's to come. So you'll have to keep us posted. And Art Frankly will be a kind of an ardent supporter of Kingsland as you guys move forward. But Sara, this has been really fun. And I think it was a really insightful conversation. And we haven't spoken with someone in the printmaking community, at least in the Frank Fridays iteration of my involvement. So this has been really rewarding.
Yeah, it was so great. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.